strange, almost surreal tussle going on at the
It's going
moment.
to be rather a surreal coincidence.
Slightly surreal, really.
Slightly surreal.
And surreal.
A surreal coincidence.
Strange, almost surreal tussle going on at the moment.
Surreal. Slightly surreal coincidence.
Surreal tussle going on at the moment.
A surreal coincidence. Slightly. It was a surreal
Tussle going on at the moment.
Surreal. Totally surreal. Well surreal. Double surreal. What does surreal mean? Does it mean anything? Is it merely a synonym of strange, lazy fancy speak for weird? What do you, the people, think it means?
Yes, I do know what it means. Is that it then?
Funny peculiar? Funny ha-ha? Well, spot on both, I suppose. So I'm booting with a Bailey's top, my brother.
I don't think so, sisters.
It means bizarre. It's that bizarre feel, isn't it? Yeah. Bizarre.
I thought you said I could be Tsarina.
It does mean bizarre, but the tamed end of bizarre. The surrealists of the 20s and 30s took the bizarre out of the wild and incarcerated it in a zoo. They domesticated a feral instinct, expunged the savagery, sought to keep it for themselves and their precious movement. When, of course, the irrational really belongs to all of us, to all ages, if not to all cultures.
Well, it's two words, isn't it? Sur meaning south and real meaning royal. Royal South. Surreal. Olé.
Wrong. Wrong etymology. But surrealism did come from the South, and the artist with whom it is regrettably most readily associable, the 20th century's aptest anagram, Avida Dollars, was nothing if not a fawning royalist. So fawning indeed that after he was presented to HRH Queen Elizabeth II of England and to the Duke of Edinburgh, Dali's anxiety not to display lèse-majesté was such that when he took his leave of the royal couple, he declined to turn his back on them.
What a splendid example of un acte gratuit, Philip. How generous of Senor Dali.
To destroy is to create, old thing. Totally surreal.
Do you remember that story Uncle Louis's friend from the old country told us about Senor Dali? Oh, what was he called?
Herr Max Ernst. He was well surreal.
But what was the name of that common little man who...
Unwell. Too surreal by half, if you want my opinion.
Senor Dali was quite right to get him sacked.
Maurice Bonewell was called in by his employers and asked if he'd made this impious atheistic film which Salvador Dali had disowned. Bunwell said, yes, of course. And they sacked him. Anyway, a few days later, Bunwell and Dali run into each other on Fifth Avenue. Dali sticks out his mitt, which Bunwell refuses to shake. Bunwell says, it was you who got them to give me the boot, wasn't it? And he stuck one on him. Monsieur Bunwell, you hit Salvador Dali. Is that correct? If surreal is now just another word for odd, the one thing that cannot be described as surreal is pictorial surrealism, which is...
Hey, you! What's that you were saying about it coming from the south and being royal? Bollocks! It comes from the west. It's Republican.
Bobby Sands was a provisional surrealist. He sought the infant within the man. In his most celebrated work, he pursued nostalgie de la boue with a fervour and literality that even the coprophile Dali never succumbed to. Dali's medium was paint. Sands went much further. He adopted a stratagem of Marcel Duchamp's and created an ever-mutating installation which he knew no one would ever see, which he knew would be destroyed after his death, which was also a surrealist act. Gratuitous, anarchic, irrational, romantic, and truly heroic.
Holy Mary, Mother of God, Holy Mary, Mother of God, Holy Mary, Mother of God, Holy Mary, Mother of God!
Even when there is no train, the tunnel is still there. To the British, Hitchcock is a manufacturer of thrillers, and Lewis Carroll is a mere children's writer. Continental Europe regards them differently, reveres them as great artists, inventors, artificers, de facto surrealists, who delve, literally as often as not, beneath the surface skein of the observable world.
He's dead. I'm not. I'm forever.
So's Lewis Carroll.
Not so forever as me, my dear. The Creator lives merely by leave of his creatures, his creations. They buried me here in 1934. I am forever, aren't I?
I am forever. Aren't I?
That's the power of myth, of art, of fiction, of imagination. It causes eternity to beckon. It kills off the notion of there being no life after body death. Right then. Surrealism came from the South and from the West. Where else did it come from? This map, published in 1929 in Variété, shows where the surrealists thought surrealism came from. It's a cartographic homage to the cultures that they believed to be their sources and their inspiration, that they believed they owed a debt to. They'd merely plundered them. But that's the European way. Colonization through appropriation. Thus Labrador, Russia, Alaska, Polynesia, and Ireland are inflated.
Not everybody knows how I killed old Philip Matford, smashing his jaw in with my spade.
The USA and Spain don't exist. Africa, France, and Britain have shrunk. These are neat enough gags, but they're evidence too of vanity and delusion. The diminution of Africa is especially telling. African art had been influential on Western artists since the turn of the 20th century. It was a way out of the continuum of the Renaissance. The Surrealists wanted to be different. So, out with African art and in with Inuit art, Easter Island art. This map is wrong. It denies Surrealism's Eurocentricity. One history of the 20th century is the history of bourgeois guilt and of its attempted expiation through stay-at-home plundering. Europe tried to absolve itself of slavery and colonialism by appropriating the idioms of alien cultures. Europe is a living museum, the warehouse of the world, the great plunderer, which is why it's the center of civilization and of cultural suicide. Can blue men sing the whites? Yeah. Or are they hypocrites? A more accurate map of Surrealism looks like this. It is equally a map of Catholic Europe, which is apt. Surrealism flourished in Catholic countries, where Christian mythology is sustained by a gamut of rituals which render the fantastical inseparable from the everyday. The dourness and unimaginative literality of Protestantism produces dourly, unimaginative naturalism. Whilst Surrealism may have been fervently anti-clerical, it knew its enemy. It purloined clerical garb and ecclesiastical practices. Surrealism was born of the religious impulse, of a desire for mysteries, but not the old threadbare mysteries, though it certainly adhered to the conviction that there is more to it all than the objective world. It was concerned to build new mythologies of its own. It believed in the primacy of the imagination. It represented what could not be seen. It invented worlds, rather than vainly trying to copy what is supposedly before us. It made the figurative plastic and concrete. It demonstrated that anything is possible, that the imagination should not be trammeled by facts, circumstances, usage.
Monsieur Benoël, c'est vrai que vous lui avez flanqué un gifle, Dali?
My dear, I hadn't noticed how you changed.
You hadn't met me before 5 pages or 7 minutes ago.
Well, all the better to see how you changed. And my, you have lost weight.
Yes, I have. And I don't know where to find it.
And he doesn't know where to find it.
I'll show you. I'll show you where to find it.
I'll help you. I know where it'll have gone.
Like I say, anything is possible, as it is when we sleep. What happens when we REM? The world is reordered according to our desires and anxieties. Reason sleeps when we sleep. Surrealism connotes merely a 20 or so year span of the eternal human urge to replicate the reality that is achieved in dreams and in cerebral afflictions where reason absents itself.
Go on, get in there.
They're on.
That eternal human urge seeks to replicate in art what we experience through trance and narcosis when we will reason to absent itself. In pre-childhood, where we have yet to learn it, to learn anything save the luxury of uterine dependence. The urge has always been with us. It merely lacked a name till Guillaume Apollinaire came up with surrealism. The surrealist movement ludicrously attempted the codification of that urge. Its commissar, André Breton, imposed rules where there can be no rules. But then he was no artist and not much of a writer. He was the prototype of the Stalinist cultural impresario. He had a taste for purges and manifestos. He diminished the eternal urge by turning it into another art movement, another school of literature, another ism, when it is, rather, a state of mind, a sensibility, an impulse, an elemental need to exteriorize or exorcise the interior phenomena we experience when we are freed of reason's straitjacket, when cause and effect seems a construct of the most banal kind, when Judeo-Christian morality seems like an elaborately frivolous system of suppression, when clock time is exposed as a job opportunity for the Swiss, when linear logic has yet to be invented, when the notion of meaning has no meaning. And now, Orange Mulligan's Milligan's Orange.
And then I woke up. It had all been just a dream.
The journey in time is one of the four cardinal devices of fantastical narrative. The others are the double, the contamination of primary reality by secondary reality, the work within the work.
The first surrealist was the first of our ancestors to make a representation of not what was outside him, the daily grind of hunter-gathering and making fire from flint, but of what was inside his head, of what had no existence before he made it exist. That first artist, who did not, of course, realize that he was an artist, possessed an innocent capacity for wonder that his avatars have striven ever since to recapture. How do we achieve that state? And why do we wish to? Neuropsychopathologist Vigo Bream.
Som der honorabilität, som der arbeitstad, som der maktfabrikaridad.
He used to be all right. I like that one when he did the disgusting sex act with the llama and the motorboat.
What else we got?
Rick Stein's Roadkill. This week, Rick prepares squashed otter and shows us how to scrape a fox off a hard shoulder and braise it so it tastes sweet as dog.
Give us that.
The Aberdeen typhoid outbreak of April 1964 was caused by contaminated corned beef. Anything becomes fantastical if you look at it long enough.
Or cooking, innit? When it isn't makeovers.
That's art, that one.
He's heterosexual, you know. You missed that one the other week when he dropped his hot lunch on those people's carpet and just left it steaming there.
In just a moment, in a special for BBC Two's Chocolate Night, Lloyd Grossman goes through the anal keyhole to ask, whose is this rectum?
Lead coming through on the nose. Ooh, big saturated branch chain hydrocarbons saying hello to daintier effete propylenes, chunky moleculed butylenes pushing through in a devastatingly complex finish. It says 70s elf petrol.
Oh, there's that quiz with what's-his-face on 24. Give us that.
Welcome back, mein Folk, to Valhalla or Basta.
Here is the next question, Herr Reich Quizmeister.
Dankeschön, Lotte. Oh, here is the hard one. On your tingerlings now, my sweet things. All right. Which one of these puts the T in Britain? Attend to your screens, mein Lieblings.
Were it Mrs. Thatcher?
No! TB. Who put the T in Britain?
Were it them chimps on the telly?
Sniff the whiff. Oh, Miles! It was Typhoon who put the T in Britain. Jadakas 9! Let us think now about Scunt Hop. Scunt Hop. Now, who's going to the Eastern Front? And who's going to Valhalla? The question is if Typhoon put the T in Britain, who put the...
Thor in Scunthorpe. Who did put the Thor in Scunthorpe?
It wasn't the Thor I put in Scunthorpe.
I want to state unequivocally that I did not put the Thor in Scunthorpe. I was out picking up boys that day.
I would have loved to put the Thor in Scunthorpe.
Look, Squire, anyone, but anyone, who suggests it was me who put the Thor in Scunthorpe gets what's owed to them.
I'm the Thor in Scunthorpe.
What? What you want now, eh? What do you want from me, eh? Always going on. That's you, all the time. And what are you staring at? You. Yeah? Hey, what you want, you? Look at you just standing there. You useless, aren't you? Hey, aren't you? You're just bloody useless. What are you staring at as well? No, you're even more useless than they are, aren't you? What good are you? All you ever do is eat grass.
Oh, I never liked him. The Mad Hatter.
Hatter? Mad Hatter?
Oh, don't be so silly. The illustrator drew a hatter, so he had to stay a hatter.
I knew him well too.
We all find our route to immortality, even if it is in liquid form.
Was it you who put the extra T in hater?
Maybe.
And did you put the T in Britain?
Oh, I had so many T's. I had to get rid of them wherever I could.
The pool of tears. The pool of tears. It wasn't what Mr. Dodgson actually wrote.
It's all because I kept forgetting to wash my tears out. Cotton buds haven't been invented yet, dear.
I never leave a door open to this day. I don't want to get a chill because of the drafts. See what I mean? I'll get a chill now. Goodbye.
Hang on. You said you were going to help me find the weight.
I have. This is the waiting room.
Is that where the weight went? Is that where the past is?
Last train to San Fernando. Last train to San Fernando. If you miss this one, you'll never get another one. Beady-dee-dee-bam-bam to San Fernando. Last night I met my sweet Dorothy. She said tomorrow I don't sleep and I won't even if you like. All right. Oh, you can take me out tonight. We can play the line and get back in time. But the last train to San Fernando. Last train to San Fernando. Last train to San Fernando. If you miss this one, you'll never get another one. Beady-dee-bam-bam to San Fernando.
This country relegates Carroll to the status of children's writer out of fear of what he might release, out of fear of what he tapped into. He is an affront to the canons of common sense. To describe him as childish, silly, nonsensical is a way of trying to render him harmless. He's a high master of irreason, and it's an irreason of his own devising. It's not religion, which is the reason that is permitted and controlled, the way that tobacco and alcohol are the drugs that are permitted and controlled. The irony is that the more irrational a church is, the more potent and literal its myths, the more it is likely to excite an appetite for extracurricular reason. It's no coincidence that Carroll, a cleric, wrote at a time when the stronghold of the English church over this country's imagination and psyche was at its height.
Repeat after me. The lop here is my shelter. I said repeat after me. The lop here is my shelter.
The lop ears is my shelter?
I shall not want. Take it away!
He maketh me to lie down on green pasture.
He leadeth me beside the still watchmakers. He restoreth my soubrette. He leadeth me in the patches of riffraff for his naiad sailors. Yea, though I walk through the valley... I alter so chilling a phrase. The psalmist was a surrealist. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil. Won't I? Won't I fear no evil? The potency of that phrase obliterates and contradicts all hope. Pious optimism has no chance against it. When I was a child, I believed that this place really was the Valley of the Shadow of Death. I believed I had found the exact location. I believed that from the moment a cloud occluded the bright summer sun. And when I learnt that in France, such a valley with no watercourse is called une vallée morte, a dead valley, it was merely confirmation that I had got it right. My infantile terror was prompted by this dead valley alone. Now, this kindred landscape 3 miles away was different. It was wholly benign. Had a cloud switched off the sun here, it would have been no more than meteorological happenstance. When I lay in bed at night as a child, this is where the sheep that I counted to put me to sleep jumped over a gate. I don't know why they should have lived here. We don't elect the places that touch us. Sense of place is not analogous to such primary senses as smell and touch. The topographical epiphanies we suffer as children are signs of incipient sentient capacities, for wonder, for imagination, for investing the exterior world with properties of our own devising. Particular places speak to us. They act as a trigger for this amalgam of qualities which adds up to a nascent aesthetic sense. We make our own version of these places. We possess them. They infect us and we infect them. They're catalysts of a signal awakening. So it's hardly surprising that we should eternally return to them in the hope of retrieving those sensations of childhood.
And we're grateful when serendipity grants us those sensations in adulthood, because they transport us back to childhood, to that time of our life when we are most susceptible to mystery.
That time of our life, a month then is a day now, though 60 seconds is still a minute, a faster minute. That protracted time when we slough off innocence. All that innocence means is knowing fuck all. And the idea that children know fuck all is a fiction of politicians, churchmen, Rotarians, Mr. Tony Tartuffe, and so on.
There's a vast gulf between surrealism and demagoguery. The former's impetus is to abandon all control, to let it roll, let it jelly roll.
Oi! Taxi for the chappie looking for the lost weight? Is that you?
Yes?
Get it in.
It all bust up most acrimonious like in moist groin. It were much more than a marriage. That's what made it so painful. But musically, we'd grown apart. The way people do. I was into totally progressive sounds. But for Mutilator and Slasher, it were novelty numbers or nothing. How much is that doggy in the window and that malarkey? Yeah, then there was what I'd call irreconcilable differences. Over the colour of our coats and the direction we should go in. I wanted to go in the Kidderminster direction, but they wanted to go in the Warsaw direction. I mean, end of story. Have you ever heard of anybody in Warsaw who bought an hot dog from a couple of lilac poodles in a van called Moist Groin playing nothing but novelty records? No, mister.
Hang on. You sure this is where the weight is?
No. I just need a leak.
There's only a letter's difference between artistic and autistic. There's only a letter's difference between cosmic and comic.
Sorry about that, mate. No. In private.
There's only a letter's difference between micturition and allium porum. No, that's not right, is it?
You hungry, boy? Snack? Oh, I just love to get some egg on my soldier. Where's the nearest army camp?
The professionals. One day Kosovo, next day ovine sacrifice.
My son Warren, he perishes for us all.
The ability to soft-boil an egg is not regarded as a virtue in Spain. The more pervious a culture is to surrealism, the less preoccupied it is with the most unimaginative thing you can do with an egg. It's a post-Protestant talent to stand around for 4 minutes watching water precipitate gastronomic banality. France, where reason struggles with surrealism, boils an egg for 2.5 to 3 minutes.
When it comes to cooking an egg, it's not that difficult. Basically, what we're doing is poaching it in butter. So now we just wait for them to cook.
Come on, get on with it. This program's going to be over in a minute. That is not, if you'll pardon my saying so, an even line.
So what we're trying to achieve, soft white, soft yolk.
Up, there you are. No, down. Yeah, that's about it. Down a tiny bit more, And the donkey is not quite that thick in that part. Think art, not craft. This is not just another chalk work.
Just work that butter over the yolk, gently.
If you two had bothered to look at the map the way I told you to, you'd have seen that the hachures are close, the contour lines are close, which means that the hill is steep. You don't seem to have taken that into account. You're going to end up spending the rest of your lives working on white horses. You had a chance here. I gave you a chance. It's a white donkey.
You come and do it then.
Season after cooking. 2 eggs. Thank you, Jonathan.
Tell me.